I'm going to post something very, very personal. And I'm doing so in order to figure out how I'm going to approach a certain issue in my life. That issue being coming out to my family. Now, my family live in another state. They have no idea what's happening with me. I've been able to keep it hidden the last couple of years since I only see them maybe once a year. Yet I still know I have to tell them and I have to come clean because they need to know who I am. And whether or not they accept it is totally up to them, and I've been preparing myself for rejection. Because my family, which is dwindled, right now it's my mother, who's in her late 80s, and an older brother by 3 years, who he and his wife are very, I don't want to use the word radical, let's just say they're very, very, very far right, QAnon level far right. And the first time I visited them after I realized I was trans, and I was staying with them, and I wasn't there an hour. And this was a couple years ago when really all the trans issues started. And when I was there, that's all they talked about. All they talked about was, oh, trans this. They're all mentally ill. And I'm sitting there and looking at them and going, I'm sitting right here 5 feet away. But I was nowhere near ready to talk to them about the subject. And I want to use this to see how I would come out to my family and tell them who I am. So bear with me a minute as I go process my thoughts. But I would say to my family that I'm still your child. I'm still your sibling. I have not changed. I have been me on the inside all my life. And I'm still the same person, even though the exterior is changing to match more of who I am on the inside. And you may not understand this, but this has been a part of me my entire life, as far back as I can remember. I always fall back on age 6 when I first started really thinking that I should have been born a girl. I'm not even sure if that's accurate. It might have been younger than that. That's just as far back as I can remember, and I'm trying to remember those times. And yet, even though I felt that way back then, I was terrified because I did not understand what I was feeling. Remember, this is back in the early 1970s. There's no information about it. There's no internet or computers. Even encyclopedias didn't cover this. There was no information. And I was scared. And so I did everything I could to try to be normal. I didn't play with girls' toys. I didn't want to dress as a girl. I fought it tooth and nail to try to be as normal as possible. This caused me a lot of emotional issues growing up. A lot of emotional issues. I had an identical twin brother. He also had a lot of emotional issues. His issues were different from mine. He did not have gender dysphoria. There was something else with him, but I'm not going to get into that because that's his story and he's no longer here to tell it. So I'm going to keep that to myself. But as for me, when I hit puberty, it really started to hit me. And it was getting harder and harder to assimilate and just keep acting as me. But yet I still did it because I was scared. I was scared of what anybody would say about me or think of me. And I was not emotionally or mature enough. I was not emotionally prepared or mature enough to handle it. And that's what I did most of my life. I had learned to suppress it so well that I kept it to myself, even though I constantly dreamed about it. And I had gender dysphoria. I very much had gender dysphoria. And a lot of the younger trans women, younger than me is what I mean, their gender dysphoria was so bad they transitioned late teens, mid to late teens, early 20s, but they knew more then than I did back in my day. So I just went along with it. I wasn't gay in that I wasn't attracted to guys. And then, so I didn't know what the heck I was. I wondered if I was gay. I wondered what was causing this, but there were no answers and I had nobody to talk to. And so my family didn't know. My twin brother knew. He knew. He didn't approve, but he was also wrestling with his own demons. And so it wasn't until I lived this lie for most of my life. And especially, even though about 25 years ago I did kind of come out a little bit in private and started experimenting, but then I got married and she knew. And in the early days when we were just friends, she was very supportive. But once we agreed to get married, that support dried up. She made it pretty clear that she didn't want it to be a part of the marriage. And I did what I always did. I shoved it back down. And I lived in denial for another 19 years or so. My family won't understand that. Actually, my brother found out about my experimental stage 25 years ago, and we had a big blow up over it. Now, back then, I did not even admit to myself that I was trans. But he accidentally saw some pictures of me, and we had a big fight. And we didn't talk for a while. And then after I was getting married, and it was clear to him that I was no longer going down that route, well, then he acted like nothing ever happened. So it really should be no surprise to him about, now that I'm coming out, how he knows who I am. But I don't know how he's going to take it this time, considering his politics are so against this. And now that the country is on a really negative route about the trans community and trying to legislate us out of existence. And I'm sure the next time I go out there, if I haven't come out to them already, I'm going to hear more of their bullshit. So what do? I'm going to have to tell them. I joked around for a while thinking that the way I'd come out to them is go, oh, by the way, I'm mentally ill. And then they look at me real funny and not know what the hell I was talking about. And then I'd break it to them. I don't know if that's the way it'll actually happen, but I need to bring it up. And it's going to have to be this year, not only for my own personal growth, but the fact that I've been on hormones now for 4 months, and I'm probably not going to see them until the fall. So it's going to be about 6 months. And there are changes that I can't hide. My face especially drastically changed from the last time they saw me. And I'm growing in certain places that are starting to become a little bit harder to cover. So eventually, if I don't say something, they're going to notice and say something. And I want to try to explain to them that I'm still the same person. And you may not agree. You may think I'm mentally ill. Okay, fine. I don't care. I know I'm not mentally ill. This is just the way I am. And they haven't proved any kind of mental illness or anything else that causes things like this. Just as like they've never found anything that causes someone being gay. It's just something in our genetic makeup or what, I don't know. Maybe it's a spiritual thing. I don't know. So having said that, how do I explain to them that I'm happier now than I've ever been in my life? That this doesn't define my entire being. I am still the same person I've always been. I've had the same likes and dislikes, same hobbies. I've grown a lot more emotionally, spiritually. And to get my family to not think of me as a freak or an embarrassment. My poor mother, I'm afraid she just won't understand at all. She's fairly liberal, but yet she's so set in her ways, being 89 years old, and that this topic is just probably going to be so alien to her that I think she's going to freak. She's always kind of looked at some things negatively, and she'll freak out over this and take it negatively. Now, do I think my mother will ever disown me? No. And I'll tell you why. Because she's already lost one of her kids. My twin brother died of a heart attack 8, almost 9 years ago. So she won't completely disown me. She'll be upset. I don't think she'll ever accept it. I think she'll continue to dead name me, use my old pronouns. And I'm not going to write her off if that's the case, because she's got a few years left, maybe. And I love her. And I'm the one who will show the compassion if I have to. Same with my brother. I love my brother. And his wife is cool. I really like her, when we're not talking politics or religion, because they're very religious too. They love to throw Bible quotes at me, and I just kind of shrug and try to argue back, and I can't win because then they always have another Bible quote ready. So I don't know what's going to happen there. I think in the end, they will probably not talk to me for a while. They're not going to accept it or like it. But I also, and maybe I'm being overly optimistic, there's a part of me that thinks that over time we'll start talking again. And we may not ever have the same relationship again, because they will not welcome me with open arms. That's not going to happen. So I have prepared myself to just keep going. I've lived apart from my family now for well over 25 years, 26 years. I moved away from them to live my own life, for better or for worse at that time. Made a lot of mistakes. But since finding myself, coming out to myself and understanding that this has always been a part of me, and I am, now that I'm able to do it, working on achieving those goals as best as I can. I have to explain to them, no, I'm not a woman. I never will be. I call myself a trans woman, transsexual, but, I'm still biologically a male. I always will be. And I've put up with insults online, people having to remind me that I'm a man because, God forbid, they don't think I know that. Or that I'm being perverted, or all the problems that the trans community activists have caused these last few years, which has really turned the public against us, especially with the current administration. So it's a matter of trying to convince them that they haven't lost me. I'm still who I am. And I look different on the outside, and that's it. What else can I do? I would welcome, if any other trans girls are watching this, if you have come out to your family and have had your experiences, please comment down below. Please like and share as well. Tell me your stories or your advice on how to handle this. Because I know my family, and I'm pretty sure I know how they're going to react. But I could be surprised. It could go totally different. I don't know. So anyway, that's me getting this off my chest. Not sure if I'm going to post this or not. We shall see. In any case, let's see what's going to happen.